AMD. AMD is in the news, just kind of crushing it left and right. And they decided to pack their earnings in to the same time that they did the Xilinx announcement. I was up at 4 a.m. Covering this with you, Daniel. But listen, beats all over the place. They beat on revenue. They beat on EPS. They had record revenue at 56%. And, no longer can I talk about the good old days when I was there, right? These are the new good old days. Record CPU revenue, highest ever notebooks and revenue, which, while performance of a desktop and a workstation impress me, revenue growth in notebooks to me is more meaningful because that is where the puck is going. And in a lot of areas, it's where AMD is not necessarily well entrenched, right? They've proven to me on desktop, they've proven to me on server, and they're starting to prove their case on notebook. Record CPU revenue, 2x, and from my point of view, I always want that number to be 3x because, I know where Intel is at 90+% market share. And I'd like to see AMD, grinding it out at 3x. But, we're analysts and we can't always have, flowers and milkshakes all the time. But, how can you complain? They did great. They crushed it.
Rainbows and kittens, my friend. Look, last week, Xilinx was the story. So it was kind of like, we're going to have earnings today, but we're also going to make a $35 billion acquisition. It was a big day. And of course, it started very early for us. At 56% up year over year, 45% quarter over quarter growth. That's remarkable, especially because the company is continuing to hit critical mass. It has sort of rounded the corner. Look, I've been the most scrutinous of any of this company. What does it have left to prove? Well, it's gotten that low-hanging fruit. It's been able to win business in the wake of some of the difficulties for Intel, some of the delays, but not just at the expense of Intel. Some of it has also been because AMD's done well. It's built a very loyal user base that enjoy the devices. That's led to more OEMs building more SKUs on the CPU and on the data center side, and that has equated to more users. And once users do start to flip over, there is a scale, right? One of the biggest strengths of Intel is the software. And when you are using Intel in the data center, moving off Intel is a big deal. But when some companies start to do that and start to use AMD instances, that does provide opportunity for growth. That could be with the cloud, that could be with the enterprise, that could be in high performance. So AMD has a place to play in all of them. One other thing, Pat, because you did cover a lot of this that I would like to mention is I was impressed by the confidence the company is showing going forward, actually moved its guidance up from a 32% year over year expectation to 44%. So that means clearly heading into its last quarter, AMD thinks its momentum is with it and that there's nothing that's going to slow it down, even despite all the hardship going on in the market. The company is saying, we believe we're on this track. We're going to keep this track. The only thing I'll watch out for, Pat, is you heard me mention with like Microsoft and Azure, the law of large numbers. AMD is still in the beginning of the law of large numbers. When you compare their revenues in any category to what Intel does, for Intel to show growth at that rate versus AMD, it's sometimes 10, 20, 30x revenue. And we all know that when Azure's growing 48 and Amazon's only growing 30, that doesn't mean Amazon's doing badly in cloud. It just means Amazon's a lot bigger. So there is always that balance in mind. People get really excited about growth rates, but I think you also have to look at the overall growth numbers. And AMD's doing very well, but can it keep growing at that rate into the next, next phase?
That's good stuff, Daniel. Good insights. And AMD has a chance to show at this point on how it does in GPUs. And we're going to be talking in our next show about Big Navi. Big Navi.